Assalamu alaikum. Different episode today with my friend here, my brother Hassan. Say salam. We just finished Tarweeh prayer, and bro wants me to. What are we doing in the car park still?
No, let's go speak to their imam. Look, they're there.
Speak to their mum.
Imam's there.
Yeah.
Let's go say salam.
Yeah. So just had to get myself out of there after speaking to their mum. Beautiful voice, mashallah. And today I thought I'd do a different type of episode for you guys because it's always nice to kind of take a video inside the studio, but you know the time right now is 1 a.m. I'm on the move. I'm walking home. The masjid is so close to my house that I don't need to drive. I could drive, but that just would be being lazy, you know. So the color distortion is probably going to fade in and out. Let's see if I can turn the brightness up. Can I? Maybe I can, maybe I can't. That's okay. What I wanted to share with you guys is actually a key take on having sabr. And you know, look, I'm not imam, so I'm not going to preach to anyone here, but having sabr just basically means having patience. And I think that's really important because in this day and age right now, we're living in a time where so many people are wanting the next best thing to happen to them, right? They might have seen their friend have a massive come up and people are waiting for their turn. People are believing it's their turn. You know, you might be watching this video now thinking, hey, I know people that are up to no good, that don't live a righteous, as righteous life as myself, but they have more than me. Okay, and that's the reason why having sabr is important, because you have to put yourself in a position of understanding that your life is a puzzle, your life is a maze, you know, and you have to go through different phases to get to different stages. And look, man, a lot of you will think that my life was, you know, mapped out easily. I've moved over to Dubai, I'm living the life everyone wants to live, and it's this and it's that. That's not always the case. You know, they say more money, more problems, for example, but you know, you're always going to be unhappy, you know, you're always going to want more, you're always going to have problems, you're always going to have some type of lesson to learn. And that's really important to understand, because if you don't go through your lessons or your losses, then you don't get to define the true characteristics within you that can help you be a winner, that can help you succeed. You know, for example, let's say I was a millionaire from the age of 16, just for example. 16 to some, or to a lot of people, is young, right? Of course it's young, it's very young, 16 years old, but some people are born into that type of wealth. Now, think about what type of man I would be at 18 years of age, having been a millionaire from 16 already, to what type of man I would be now, having gone through so many lessons, having met so much different people, having been in so many different environments. I'd be a better person now to have that type of money than I would be if I was 16. If I was 16 having that type of money, I could have been an arsehole, could have been a snob. You know, I could have turned my nose up at different people and it could have really sent me down the wrong path. So having sabr is important, guys, because you need to understand that you're being prepped and primed for your final showdown, or you're being prepped and primed for your greatest ordeal. You know, it's eloquently poetic justice, really, to kind of see that there's a process behind every success story, right? When people see, you know, people running into wealth overnight, you know, how long does that wealth last for? How long do they value that wealth for? You know, they have the sayings, easy come, easy go. These sayings are really true. You know, easy. I've been in situations in the past where I've had an easy come, easy go, right? I've made tons of money before I got into trading. You know, I used to work in Madrid, as I've spoken many times before. I used to work in a sales environment, in a Wolf of Wall Street environment, right? And you know, you'd have people being paid 6 figures in a monthly wage, 5 figures in a monthly wage, right? Sometimes they was paid in cash, and then we had to be paid in Bitcoin, which is the reason why the Bitcoin was something that I got into, because I was paid that from a very young age. But my point is this: when I look at my story, I understand that I had to go through all of those lessons. Guys, I've lived in 2 foreign countries now, right? I've lived in Spain, I've lived in Dubai, here in the UAE. And you know, when I lived in Spain, I was working for a manager there was 3 of them, but the main one, or the one that was in control, he was predominantly the most racist one. I was the only black guy in my sales floor. I caught conjunctivitis somehow from one of my work colleagues, and every single day this guy used to try and mentally bully me, right? I'd come into work and he'd be like, what's wrong, Cavell? You want to go home like a little bitch? Don't worry, I'll get you a flight, I'll get you a ticket by lunchtime. Or lunchtime would come around, he'd be like, Cav, come with me, come get lunch. We'll call it Last Supper. Like, he was constantly trying to break my character down, trying to break me down, because the guy didn't really want me there, okay? And he would say that he wanted me to rise above it and show him, and you know, he had a funny way of showing how he wanted me to be resilient and whatever. You know, everyone's got their own different methods to teaching people, blah blah blah. My point is this, okay? I was in a foreign country, didn't know the language too well, and the job was a commission only job. There was no salary. I could have easily went back home. Guys, and gone back to UK, right? I was 21 at the time, living with my mum. I had no worries about bills, about rent. I could have went back home. I could have just been fine. But I decided to stick it out. I had sabr. I was not greedy in the sense of thinking, well, you know what, I came here and I wanted to make a ton of money like what I've seen everyone else making, and I'm not making it within, you know, a month or 2 months, so I'm going. This guy's annoying me. I'm just gonna cuss him out and leave. No, I had sabr. I had to sit through it. I had to actually sift through all of the hard times. I had the conjunctivitis in my eyes, right? And this is a true story, okay? I nearly went blind. I actually nearly went blind in my eyes because my eyes got so bad. I had 2 different specialists check them out. They gave me eye drops. That was the wrong eye drops. And not only were the eye drops wrong, but it was making my eyes worse. So it got to a point where when I went to a hospital, they said, look, you can't contaminate both eyes. You can't use a tissue to wipe both because your eyes is really bad. It felt like my eyelashes was in my eyes. Guys, this was arguably the worst time of my life. You know, it got to a point where my eyes are so bad. Well, prior to them getting that bad, I was wearing Ray-Bans into work because all of the lights was hurting my eyes. But at this point, I had to stay at home and I had to have ice. I had to have flannels of ice, you know, ice cubes wrapped up in a flannel over my eyes. The pain was so unbearable. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, you know. But the reason why I share this story with you guys is because, again, time and time again, it's important to understand that it wasn't about where I was at that very moment in time. It's actually more about where I was going. And I can't say anything more than that. It was about where I was going, not where I was. If I had looked at where I was at that moment in time, I wasn't nowhere favorable. I wasn't nowhere to say, yeah, cool, I wanted to be, I was nowhere near a position that I'm in now, or nowhere near in a position of freedom. I had no money. My eyes were so bad. I felt neglected by my boss. He wanted me to go home, but I stuck it through. Now, some can say, yeah, Cavell, you stuck it through, look at you now, you know. I'm still waiting for my millions to come, right? Everyone will tell you they're millionaires trading and this and that and blah, blah, blah. I'm still waiting for the millions to come. I'm gonna be real. But what I'm telling you is this: every part of my story built me to the trader that I am today. And that is why you guys need to exercise sabr. Okay, you need to have patience because it builds your character and it builds really your biggest rewards, which could be around the corner, but you'll never get to realize if you don't keep going, guys. So I'm talking quietly because it's late. Walking down the street back to my home. I don't want to wake anyone up with this guy walking down the road with a camera in his hand. But nonetheless, that was my moment of the evening I want to share with you guys, to have sabr. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Learning with Vel, Life Behind Trades. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.